Safe behind police lines, the World Trade Organization appears to be beyond the reach of its detractors. But in June 2003, the WTO is about to encounter turbulent times. Over the next 12 months, the apparently unshakable status quo is to be turned upside down. The attack comes not from the streets, but from within. It is led by this calm man, Nicolas Imboden, a former Swiss delegate for trade agreements. For the last 2 years, he has been using his experience as a negotiator to help countries left on the WTO sidelines.
If you arrive at the right time with the right tools, you can actually have an impact on the system and make it move in what you think is the right direction, not just for developing countries, but also for the system itself.
WTO headquarters in Geneva on the 10th of June 2003. The president of Burkina Faso arrives to demand justice for 10 million Africans, whose survival is directly threatened by the artificial fall in cotton prices. Cotton is at the heart of a year-long revolt led by 4 African countries: Mali, Benin, Chad and Burkina Faso, advised by Nicolas Imboden.
Nous souhaitons que le coton soit traité comme un produit spécial.
We want cotton to be treated as a special product, and we want to be able to organize stronger legal defense around cotton for our farmers and for our nations. So put clearly, we're calling for the dismantling of subsidies, their total elimination.
In the United States, increased use of machinery means just 1 worker is needed to farm 800 acres of cotton. A total of 800 people are required for the same surface area in Africa. Despite these enormous differences in access to technology, cotton production costs half as much in Africa as it does in the United States, and 3 times less than in Europe. Rich countries are faced with competition from poor countries on the same market.
In the case of cotton, I think Africa has a great advantage because its cotton is produced without irrigation and it's hand-picked. There are no machines involved. That means higher quality than the cotton produced in industrial countries. So comparatively, African countries have an undeniable advantage.
But the competitors are not on a level playing field. Developed countries use public money to subsidize their producers. In 2001 and 2002, Europe and the United States spent more than $4 billion on supporting their cotton industry. If a pound of cotton costs 50 cents and the government says it will pay $1 for every pound you produce, what do? Just like any other European or American producer, you grow as much cotton as possible to get paid as many dollars as possible. So there's more and more cotton, world stock levels increase and prices plummet. But that doesn't worry you, the farmer, because you've already been paid.
The decision to produce is still left up to the producer, and the program sets no requirements that the producer should produce this much of a certain commodity over another commodity.
Well, next year I will have more cotton. I'm in a rotation program, so next year I'll have anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 acres of cotton, so I'll double or triple what I've got this year.
The fact that the US subsidizes its production and that 2 years ago they put a surplus of 1 million tons onto the market contributes to the drop in prices. And the underdeveloped countries which don't have the resources to pay subsidies can't keep up.
We produce our cotton 50% cheaper than the Europeans or the Americans. But because of subsidies, our farmers' incomes keep going down year after year.
They subsidize at 82 cents and sell at 35 cents. And we Africans have to sell at 35 cents, since we don't pay subsidies. It's not fair, it's unfair trade.
What makes it even more unfair is that cotton is the main source of income for the countries of Western and Central Africa.
Cotton is a strategic product for us. It represents at least 60% of agricultural exports for all of our countries. For millions of farmers, cotton is their livelihood. Cotton represents less than 0.1% of the US economy, and the same is true for Western European countries. But for African countries, especially the 4 countries that made the submission, cotton is the pillar of their economy. If cotton hits hard times, the whole economy collapses.
African countries are often left on the sidelines during major WTO debates. Now they've decided that it's time to fight back, and they're calling for cotton subsidies to be abolished in Europe and the United States. Cotton is to become the first blow dealt by African countries to world trade rules.
For the first time, Africans are not asking for handouts. We're not asking for help. We're not begging. We're saying, you have passed laws, we are asking you to respect them.
For the first time, the Africans weren't asking for exceptions to liberalisation. They were asking for a free, open market. They were on the offensive. That was new. It had never happened before. The Africans were saying, and rightly so, that they'd liberalised their economy more than the North had. Not in the context of the WTO, but in the context of World Bank and International Monetary Fund adjustment programmes. In fact, they were saying, we've paid our dues to liberalisation, now the people who asked us to free up our economies have to do their share.
Contrary to common public perceptions, the WTO is a fully democratic body. Each country has a vote and none has the right to a veto, unlike in the United Nations. Developing countries are in the majority within the WTO, but that doesn't seem to be enough to make their voice heard.